Wait, wait, I'm not dreaming. Oh my, somebody pinch me right in the caboose, guys. Welcome and hello, hello and welcome. Welcome and hello, hello and welcome. Welcome and hello, hello and welcome. Good afternoon. Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome. Happy Monday, guys. And yes, I wouldn't call it a case of the Mondays. I think I might have a case of the tariffs. It's characterized by a your testicles shrink up into your gunt, and you just hold your breath for a week while your net worth gets chopped in half faster than your schlong at a bris. No, anyway, guys, welcome and hello, hello and welcome, welcome and hello and welcome. Thankfully, I do have a few dollars tucked away in real estate, so I'm collecting some rents. I'm also selling blood and semen as much as they will let me per day. Thankfully, I've reached a limit as I'm quite dehydrated, and the chafing is becoming absolutely unbearable. But guys, one of the things I'm known for, a hallmark, kind of, if I have an ethos, and I probably don't, as I'm more a follower of the great Walter Sobchak, but if I have an ethos, it would be to always greet people warmly. So let me just come to you and say welcome and hello, hello and welcome. Of course, it is me. It is I. It is Mini Water. They call me Mini Water because I'm short and round. They call me Little Danny Cornbread DeCarlo anywhere out near Las Vegas, anywhere out in Vegas, of course, because I am a moist, doughy, and I crumble under pressure. They call me Stubby Cohiba, of course, due to a manscaping accident I had in the early 80s. I used to do all my manscaping with one of those old stainless steel Vitamixes. And I saw something on the home shopping, I believe it was a Richard Simmons Deal a Meal product, and I went to reach for my cordless phone, slipped, ipso facto, yada, yada, yada. Just let me recommend you do not, trim your pubes with a steel blade with no guard spinning at 25,000 RPMs, or you too in South Florida might be nicknamed Stubby Cohiba. Anyway, guys, I don't know why anyone would watch this show or why my intro should take 2.5 minutes just to act like a complete fucking moron. But, that's my stock and trade, guys. So let's talk about what's going on. I want to talk about SoFi because I just bought a lot more SoFi, just under $9. And I think this, I don't think this stock is going to get hit by tariffs. Obviously, a shrinking economy and, that kind of thing hits everybody. But let's see here, guys. Yeah. Thank you. The great Not a Lurker has joined us. Great Not a Lurker. Welcome and hello to J Money. Welcome and hello, of course, to Six Kings. Welcome and hello to RR. Do a live with Strongman Finance. Yeah, no, I like Strongman Finance. I know every nook and cranny of both of his nostrils. I've got chapter and verse on his like eczema, his skin conditions. Just no, actually, what the guy says is true. Like you guys are a bunch of fucking morons. You shouldn't be picking stocks any more than you should be picking horses. Because horses for courses, and of course, you just don't know what the fuck you're doing. You can't look at fundamental. You can't even read financial statements. You can't read financial statements. You're not a CPA. Pass the gold bond, honey. Anyway, guys, welcome and hello and welcome. But as I said, in any type of kids built like a horse. I'm an old fat guy. Like back in my day, I was doing pretty heavy deadlift, not like that guy on this channel. Some dude on here is like a champion power lifter. Like that ain't me, guys. But I used to know my way around the old iron pile. I used to throw a few pounds around. I would mostly come in the gym and I wouldn't really work out. I'd do a fat man workout, of course, which, as you know, is 5 sets of preacher curls followed by a chicken quesadilla. But I used to warm up with a series of like WWE, at the time was WWF style slaps. I would just give myself slaps, that kind of thing. Just give myself the Jimmy arms. Anyway, guys, that's neither here nor there. I think we're supposed to be talking about SoFi. It's everybody's like, panicking. Oh, the bottom. You can buy SoFi right now. I just bought SoFi, a lot of shares, under $9. I mean, we were more than 10% under, the SPAC price. And this title's a joke. Like, obviously, I love the Canadian Finturd Mafia. It's one of the reasons I started talking about SoFi. I love Tanner's videos. I was actually on their show a few times. Now they have some other big guy who's actually smart and actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. He was telling everybody to dump all their money in Bitcoin. So I don't know how smart he is, but we had Un Poco Mas, of course, as you know. We love Tevis, we love Tanner, we especially love Roy and his homespun brand of wisdom. Roy probably has one of the most underrated channels on YouTube. I highly recommend all my subscribers, maybe not a lurker will put a link or whatever, but go subscribe to Roy's channel. That guy should have a ton more subs. One of the best channels on YouTube. But no, seriously, I love all those guys, but I feel like Anthony Noto in this tweet, and I hate talking about tweets or X's or whatever X. I love X to the Z, as you guys know. I love Pimp My Ride, like where you just do a bunch of pointless shit. He's like, I know you need a new wheelchair lift because your brother is disabled, but we're gonna go ahead and hook you up with 12 flat screens instead, and a popcorn maker. It's like, but X, my car still doesn't run reliably, and I still can't transport my brother to his medical appointments. But we gave you 3 PlayStations. Like, X. But anyway, so this tweet, I feel like Anthony Noto is extremely fed up. There was several waves of SoFi skepticism, and slowly you saw, the world turn and the world churn as are the days of our lives. And you saw sort of the first narrative when, the guys lost their nerve a little bit. I remember even the great, I think it was Tevis and even Roy, they were basically it was the dead stock narrative. Everybody started adopting the dead stock narrative. And it was around high 6s, 7s. It made me so angry. It made my blood absolutely boil, guys. What's up, Alberto? Welcome and hello, Alberto. It's Asagi sold some $10 puts. There you go, Mr. Asagi. You're too fat to fit in your gi. Wash car more. I'm like, who are you? I wise Japanese man. See how fat you are. Make you do some outdoor activity. Need car wash. Need fence painted. You in? Do I get paid? No. I would teach you karate, but you're too fat. Oh. Can I at least have one of these cool old cars? No. Too fat? Yes, too fat. Harsh but fair. Much like Bam Margera in dealing with the Russian federal police. Like, stern but fair. Anyway, guys, I'm a complete idiot. I don't know. Like, here's the thing with SoFi. Like, this is just my opinion, and I believe SoFi is built to be a huge company decades down the road. And when Anthony Noto talks about, durable competitive advantage in these tweets, like, and how that's what they're building, and like, you have to understand, like, Robinhood can't go back and become a bank. And he's talking about innovation, building that durable competitive advantage is a lot more than just shipping. It's a lot more than just announcements. Like, those are transient things. You could announce a gold-plated credit card that, you could swipe right in anybody's butt crack and get instant cash back. But that announcement alone doesn't make your credit card a better business. It doesn't make payment for order flow a legitimate, viable, long-term business. It doesn't make a business that's too reliant on crypto bros a legitimate, because what happens when things go wrong? The bottom falls out. And is that real innovation, or is what SoFi is doing to actually start with the foundation, do the hard work for 5 years, buy Galileo, buy Technesis, integrate those two things together, long-term savings? Why become a bank? Cost of capital. That's the essential reason. You lower your cost of capital, and then everything you do is more profitable. Because what is Robinhood doing? I don't care if you're doing margin. I don't care if you're doing credit cards. You're basically lending money. So if your cost of that money is 2 or 3% less, over time, Robinhood can't compete with SoFi. SoFi, what Noto is saying is, I know the order of things. Do I look like a man that is beaten by Jack's Stavi? Have you seen rounders? And I'm not at all angry at the Canadian Finturd Mafia. I still love those guys. I don't comment that much because whenever I comment in the comments, everybody's like, "Oh, Danny Deals, you're so fat and so cool." I'm like, yeah, thanks. Fucking great. But no, Noto's frustrated because he's like, we are doing things 20 quarters in a row, executing almost perfectly under insanely difficult circumstances. And now I got to listen to these young, rich Canadians who are always on vacation, pimping Bowflexes, whatever it is. And then, I got to listen to them talk about how we're a dead stock. And then I got to listen to them about how now the new narrative after the dead stock thing went away when this turd pumped to 18 or whatever. And now it's sitting back at, 9 and then 10. Now the thing we got to listen to is we're being out innovated. We're stuck in the mud. Why aren't they rolling more stuff out? And that, I think, really stuck in my biological father, Anthony Noto's craw. I think that really grinds his gears. I think it pissed him off. And I think he said, enough. Shots fired. I'm clapping back at the Canadian Finturd Mafia. And they're like, well, come on and talk about it. He's like, nope. Anthony Noto has been requesting to appear on Un Poco Mas through my emissary Nautilurker, also through Low Country Loot and Pawn. Many of my other emissaries I have throughout the country and the world. And I say, no, sir. I say, no, sir. I might seem like a fanboy, but I want to remain objective. I'm not going to be wooed by your windbreaker and your perfect hair. And I'll say this on the record, guys, and this is pretty much going out on a limb. I think Anthony Noto has superior hair to Vlad. And I look deep into a CEO's eyes. I can see their soul, like the band James. When I look into your eyes, I can see your soul. And Anthony Noto's the real deal. I think over the last 5 years, Anthony Noto's been the best executive, period, anywhere in the country. Period, end of discussion. Why? Durable competitive advantage. Doing the hard work, not the flash. Like, I don't talk about other companies. I'm above that. I'm a professional. It's like these other guys are kids playing video games, running around in fancy shoes like it's all a big game. Oh, we're just going to, cash in some crypto, go buy a couple more Lambos, maybe an island. You guys can hate you. Anthony Noto is the horse to bet on. This guy pisses excellence his entire lifetime. You're going to, he's going to be out innovated by some Delta Bravo coming out selling you snake oil, gold-plated credit cards, 6%, this, that. You can't give everything away. And by the way, payment for order, it's not free. They're selling your data. They're selling your soul. They know what you're going to do before you do it, and they make money taking your money. And everybody on Robinhood will claim they make money all the time. And yeah, you guys who are good with options, you do. But the rest of you, they're just picking stocks in the dark, swinging your wang around in your private time, trying to smack a piñata like a tiny salami. You guys are losing. I know you are. You're washing, you're losing, you're panic selling, you're chasing the tops. I know you guys. You're my audience. You guys suck. That's why I hate you guys. You're like, oh, aren't some guys are like, aren't you ready to admit SoFi was a bad investment? It's a bad company. It's like, no, I'm not. It's a great company. They've accomplished so much. Thank you. Yeah, so basically he's like, look, we want to do everything all at once, but you can only do certain things and you have to do them in a certain order. And I know what's important. Getting the bank charter was important. He's like, you D-bags. Yeah, you're obsessed with trading. You're obsessed with options. You're obsessed with covered calls. You're obsessed with wheel strategy. Our customer is not you. Our customer is not a Youturder. Our customer is not a trader. Our customer is not some shiny-headed guy making millions of dollars a year running option strategies. Not some hard nipple guy used to work for Goldman Sachs. Tells you so every chance he gets. I used to work for Del Taco. What do you want, a free set of steak knives, fat boy? Try it. Pick you up like a looter in a riot. Oh, yeah. What's up, Emrusso215? Good to see you. Clap my dog. Old favorites are here. Old friends, guys. Welcome and hello, and welcome, and hello. Thank you for joining me on this very special edition of Moon Poco Moss. Stock Karen has been on an extended vacation, a tour of the Indian subcontinent. She's found religion. She's hooked up with a yogi, and she's finally found peace in her life. So we congratulate Stock Karen. I don't think we'll ever see her again. No, guys, I'm kidding. I'm a huge Karen. Anyway, welcome and hello. And I always will be, because I'm like, it's not always serious, but I just like to complain about it. I'm like, I don't know about you guys. I'm a huge, pain in the ass. He wants to move as fast as possible. Or perhaps one thinks, he doesn't know what needs to be done, or that he's miscalculated. Do I just strike you as a person? The language here, it's like something out of a Godfather movie. He's like, STFU. He's like, we don't know how to innovate because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's basically what he's saying. I mean, if you read between the lines, I'm not saying he's saying that to the Canadian Finturd guys. He's really saying that to the general blogosphere, all the people that talk about the company, all of his detractors. Only will be able to move 5 times faster. And, he keeps talking about sustainable competitive advantage. The critical success factor all should be judged by sustainable competitive advantage is grossly misunderstood. And for that, I could not be more grateful, because he's like, we're the only ones basically getting this right. You can be sure that I will not correct those incorrect points of view, and I would never mention other companies in any regard. It's not who I am. We will focus on our strategy, our priorities, and we will execute and deliver just like we have for the last 7 years. Is the world accelerating again? Yes, you bet it is. And we recognize that way before the last few months. So we are accelerating as well. It was lonely being one of the very few trying to change the world of finance through a challenging macro backdrop, regulatory winter, and the worst rate changes of our lifetime. But we uniquely delivered durable growth and constant innovation for 20 consecutive quarters. What Noto and team have done is absolutely nothing short of miraculous. I just think, regardless of the numbers and just the incredible growth, and I think there is a ton of innovation going on we just can't see yet. And this is not a tortoise in the hare kind of thing. This is just, as the industry unfolds, as the industry changes, I think SoFi is going to be at the fore. I don't think, Robinhood is ever going to develop sort of the B2B gravitas, the sort of deep, investment bank where they become a company the size of a Goldman Sachs or a Chase. I might be completely wrong about that. Robinhood might turn out to be the biggest financial company in the world, and I just think it's going to come and go. I think it'll, go down as another PayPal that had its heyday and continues to make money for a long, long time, but I don't think it's going to end up dominating the sector, the online, Finturd sector. And I think SoFi can, and I think SoFi will. I think Anthony Noto, Crystal Point, the entire executive team are a huge, huge part of that. These other companies, they just have to acknowledge, I don't care if it's a firm or Robinhood, that they have not succeeded in all market conditions. It's been very cyclical, very up and down. SoFi, the way Noto and team plan for these ups and downs, hedge against things, make preemptive moves, I'm telling you, they are playing chess. Noto is the smartest guy in the room. You just bet on this guy. He has a ton of shares. He has a ton of skin in the game. That's I just bought a lot more shares, guys. And there people are assuming, oh, you just called the bottom down at 4 or 5. You're buying a ton. I showed all the shares I bought down there. And they're just assuming I'm not doing anything at the top. I showed another time I sold, 6 figures on a spike. I bought back $3 lower, whatever it was. I'm not just sitting here, guys. If you just sit and you just buy and hold forever, while your stock goes from 5 to 18 back to 890, and you don't do anything, or you don't play any options, you don't play those, you're never going to build real wealth. Now, you'll still do very well in a stock like SoFi over the long term, but if you're not selling covered calls, if you're not at least taking advantage of the swings to some extent, buy and hold is just, it doesn't work with stocks just this level of volatility. You just got cut in half if you don't make any moves. So I go, why aren't you doing more, telling us about options? Because I'm not the guy, guys. I'm disorganized. My mind is disjointed. It works incorrectly. It's broken. I'm not wired right. I'm not put on straight. So that I don't try to teach anyone my system. It just wouldn't make sense to your brain, because your brain works right. Mine don't. Anyway, guys, no, it's way higher than that, adrenaline. I think SMCI short interest is about 25%. That stock's going to have a huge short squeeze. There's no shares available. None. That's an $89 stock all day. It's also positioned very, very well to deal with these tariffs. We continue to build competitive, sustainable advantage faster than anyone else. We know what we need to do and are fully committed to doing it. Who dares wins? Fresh sources. Sincerely, XOXO, Danny Deal's biological father, the great Anthony Noto. So taking a look at the short interest, one of the things you'll notice, and you'll just see buy after buy after buy again, institutional ownership at an all-time high. Now, the percentage doesn't keep going up because, of course, they keep diluting us, drip, 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 with this stock-based compensation. It's like drip, 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 like if you can't achieve a full erection. That's what you might know that sound. Anyway, welcome and hello and welcome. Who the heck? What's up, TJ the Wheel Deal in the house? Youturd royalty, guys. What's going on, TJ? Hope you're having a good one. This is what I was talking about. This is one of the guys who on Robinhood or wherever he is, who's actually making money because he has a system. It's psychological. He's not just picking stocks, throwing darts at a dartboard, like I said, swinging his wee willy around. He's in it to make money no matter what happens. He's making sober choices and is just all that kind of thing. But welcome and hello, TJ. Hello and welcome. So what was I talking about? I was talking about SoFi, why I bought a lot more, why I think Noto fired shots at the Canadians, why he's just had enough. Is like if we're being out innovated, I'm a complete horse's ass and I don't know what I'm doing. And I know me, and that's not the case. I'm a fucking complete badass. I'm a steely-eyed missile man. I was an all-American football player, top of my class engineering at military academy. I've been excelling my whole life. And I'm not about to get beat by some, pale guy with a haircut, serving the needs, tickling the undercarriage, if you will, of the Seth Rogan character. Who do you serve? Do you serve your members, or do you serve that crappy, overdone Seth Rogan character? Oh, hey, I have dark rim glasses. I don't know what's going on. I lost all my money. Can you help? Does anybody have a script? That wasn't that great a movie, in the first place. But yeah, you didn't sell anybody out. Circuit breakers kicked in. I don't know how you turds trust that guy. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. For my money, yes, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these companies over the short, medium term, and it's very possible Robinhood gets over the hump and builds competitive, sustainable advantage of their own. But I don't see it right now. I mean, yes, they're very popular, but are they really doing anything other than these other online brokerages? Are these offerings that they're talking about, announcements? Are those going to be sustainable? Are those going to, help them if the economy turns down, if we go into a deep recession? I think most of these companies will just flat out go out of business. And SoFi will be there making people loans who, still have good jobs and good credit. And SoFi will be there, using, their excessively stringent lending requirements. And I think Noto is basically saying, like, look, we did this loan platform. We're getting these high margin businesses, online, these B2B. We're building these relationships with Blue Owl and all these companies. And you guys are talking about options. And yeah, with all due respect to the great TJ the Wheel Deal, he's not going to have a ton of money on SoFi because it's very limiting. That's why I used to have a ton of SoFi shares at SoFi. I thought they were going to roll out covered calls. I never sell covered calls, run different option trades on my entire position. So I had no problem, leaving a few tens of thousands of shares sitting over there. But over time, I just lost patience. I wanted to sell options against my shares again because I thought the stock was either going to be coming down off those highs. So I ended up transferring those shares out to some other brokerages. But, I guess my point is Anthony Noto knows the customer base. He knows the demographics. He knows the statistics. He knows all the surveys. He knows everything about their customers. They're deep into analytics. That's why they have that relay product. That's why they mine for all this data. Because they want to know exactly how to offer you exactly what you're going to buy at the exact right time. And Noto knows, this is more important than that. Like a very small percentage of our customers even want to do options. Most of our customers want to set it and forget it, just put in savings and watch their money grow. They don't want to necessarily run these complex option strategies. And even if like 5% of people transfer some shares out, like we're not really losing any revenue by those shares not being there. They're not, borrowing on margin. It's a very low profit business. This trading for us would be a very low price. Like the way we make money is, originating these loans. We make a ton of money and it's at really high margins. So we have to get that, cooking. And then when we have time and resources at Galileo and elsewhere, then we're going to add in, a full option suite. It's like, it is going to come, but I know what needs to be done. And I know what needs to be done in what order for our business to build competitive, sustainable advantage, as quickly as possible. And over time, that will put us in a position where we can dominate these other companies. And I believe this guy. I don't know. Maybe he's just a great salesman. Maybe I'm just fat and stupid and don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm just a wide-eyed, cockeyed optimist. Maybe I'm fatter and stupider than I thought. I don't know if that's possible. Yeah, it's possible. I workshopped it. I ran the numbers. Only possible, but it's likely. Oh. So you see what's going on with the short interest on SoFi, guys. The short interest is not that, okay, they're borrowing a lot of shares today, 800,000. So the short interest is not incredibly high. It was higher, a long time ago. So it's 13%. It's not low. It's pretty high for a company doing this consistently well. I mean, but they've always had a hard on for SoFi. These tiny wing losers, they've always hated Anthony Noto because he's handsome and successful. And he's got great ideas. He's a freaking genius. He's like, not only is a great CEO, but he's like a second CFO. He knows numbers like the back of his hand. He knows more about, finance and hedging and risk than any of these PUDs could ever even dream about. He forgot more than they'll ever know. Guys, all about windbreakers. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying competitive, sustainable advantage. Just seems to always vex me, just escapes me. Anyway, guys, what the hell else is going on here? Yeah, SMCI had a day, but I mean that, like I said, when you're pushing a stock that's basically gotten past all the FUD and it's clearly like a $90, $100 plus stock and it's high 20s, it's just susceptible, to big moves. I mean, it's been pushed down, like I said, right off 65 down to 26, as they announce all kinds of good new product. They're well positioned for tariff. I mean, SoFi is perfectly positioned because these tariffs, I mean, they're going to affect the overall economy, but I think SoFi is going to be able to do quite well vis-a-vis their Finturd competition, who's supposed to be out innovating them. I think not. Anyway, guys, so it's like I respect Robinhood. I respect their growth, how much they have under, but that's not profits. Are those? And I know they made money, but the economy was booming. Bitcoin just made a run from what, 20,000 up to well over 100,000. What happens when Bitcoin crashes and all these losers are having to sell their Lambos on Auto Trader? They're all getting margin called. They can't afford fresh razor blades to shave their heads. Kids are down racing yachts, drinking champagne coolies with not a lurker. Every one of these guys has a bowling ball machine installed in their house, specially modified to polish their heads. That's not just TJ and the great J Money Not a Lurker. That's all these crypto guys. Oh, I have no idea what I'm talking about, guys. I think the reason I'm so stupid and so fat and so dumb, and just remember, guys, this is a very critical level where the stock closed. What the hell happened here? I don't know what the hell happened. I think it doesn't have today's candle. Wait, is this today? Low close. Oh, I see. Okay. See, I'd opened higher or whatever. But yeah, so this level right here where you get this close, I guess the stock is what, 985. You see how critical this is. So came down through this 2022, tried to break through initially, get back, denied. Tried to break through several times here, late 2023, mid 2023, again, very late 2023, made another little run at it early 2024, broke through. So if this is basically a double batwing formula, if you've ever, stretched your, not to put too fine a point on it, but your ball sack, if you've ever seen them film Waiting, you make the batwing. You stretch that thing out, it's somewhat translucent, then you've seen this chart pattern. This is a double batwing. And this is akin to a stretched testicle. You notice a triple peak here, single peak here, 4 divided by 2 is 2. I don't know why everything is so testicular to me. This really doesn't have anything to do with genitals. Perhaps there's something wrong. Paging Dr. Freud. I don't know. I just find the concept of the Batwing funny. I think Waiting, the original one with the Ryan Reynolds and that guy from the Apple Store, Justin Longfellow. That's a pretty funny movie. I mean, you got like the Mitch guy from Freaks and Geeks. You got that black cook guy who's just brilliant in that movie. You got Calvin. He can't go to the bathroom. You got the little guy, the hot girlfriend who's always in every movie. Like, oh, what's up, man? Mitch, man. I forget that guy's name. It's been like a million movies. I should know his name. It's like one of the only, Latino guys in like a lot of movies. What is that guy's name? Anyway, so I think the reason my mind is so fat, slow, and stupid is that I just watched this entire Peter Navarro interview. And I have to tell you, like, I kind of came in, I was like hopeful. I was like, okay, this is going to be hardball. You use sort of this madman game theory he's using with Canada, Mexico, where you throw, a lot at them all at once, disorient them, get them off balance, give them the demands. You end up getting 90% of what you wanted originally. Of course, you're renegotiating it, but whatever it is, I mean, this is something totally different. This is basically, they're, instead of looking like what they're calling reciprocal tariffs, are based on sort of a, more on, like, he went over the example of Vietnam. They're based on more like trade deficit. So it shouldn't be at all, surprising that poorer nations that are less developed many have just going through industrial revolutions, like Vietnam, much still like agrarian, economy, living in countryside, no utilities, illiteracy, et cetera, et cetera. The notion that you expect to see, a large trade deficit, but he's like they're trying, the CNBC people are trying to get him to address, and others have tried to get them to address the difference between trade barriers and, trade deficits. Because some of the, if you go with another, major industrialized country that has, similar, levels, socioeconomic, all this stuff, and you have a major trade imbalance, there's probably, structural issues that could be non-tariff, could be subsidies, could be other hidden things. He's talking about Vietnam, all the intellectual property theft, about how they're used as a sort of surrogate for China. He thinks about, 20% of the imports coming from Vietnam are basically shadow imports from China. He's talking about how we import $15 for every dollar we sell there. And it's like he's throwing a bunch of facts out, but just not, there's no description. How does this tariff regime meet the goals you're trying? It's like when you said, okay, the goal is to stop the flow of fentanyl, so we're going to put a tariff of 25% on Canada. And they're like, but none of your fentanyl comes from us. So how can we meet the goal? And then he's talking about, well, Vietnam's already called us and said, we'll do a 0% tariff. Like, we'll cut our tariff immediately on the United States to zero. It's like, because it doesn't matter to them, of course, because like I said, the ratio of imports to exports 15-1. So like, of course their entire economy is reliant on exports. And the imports are minimal because the people who live there can't afford to buy any of the stuff that's made in the West. I'm like, but I was listening to this for 20 minutes. I'm like, this guy does not understand what he's talking about. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. I know I don't mean to be like controversial, but I know he's a PhD in econ and he went to Harvard, and I'm just listening to his understanding of trade, manufacturing, why certain jobs are gone. I'm like, we're going to go to the mattresses. We're going to go to protection. I'm like, we have a unique it's not just NVIDIA. It's not just the Magnificent Seven. I believe so deeply in the American people, their work ethic, their, fundamental. It's really painfully stretching my, willing suspension of disbelief right now, but I believe in our decency. And I frankly do not believe that American exceptionalism is dead. And I don't believe, we're turning on, our traditional allies in favor of autocracy. I think a lot of this stuff is just not going to play out how people are thinking. It's like the end of the world. It's not. A lot of this stuff hasn't even changed yet. I mean, you saw Ackman, begging for a 90-day freeze, and you're going to see louder and louder voices. They just don't want the world plunged into a depression. It doesn't achieve the goals. It doesn't stop them from stealing intellectual property. Some of these tariff rates are going to just grind global trade to a halt. You're going to cause defaults in the developing world. It's like, okay, if you want to break the World Bank and, break the UN and, basically shut down all these institutions and think that's going to lead to better outcomes for the United States because we're going to start manufacturing things again. I mean, kept talking about how BMW or Mercedes brings, engines and transmissions and they just assemble them in the United States. Well, tell that to those guys in those factories. Mercedes they employ, if you actually look it up, those factories employ a ton of workers in the United States. And I don't think they care if that sub-assembly comes from Germany or China or Mexico. That stuff's above their pay grade. They're just getting a good job with good benefits. I don't see why you'd be. Is it realistic that Mercedes could build engine plants here or whatever? Sure it is. But not if you do it by just blowing up the whole system. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Trump does know what he's doing. And I think the goals is like making a fairer, more level playing field where we don't run this massive, trade deficits and these massive budget deficits, providing, security and an economic backstop for the entire rest of the Western world. I think that's very fair. But how do you get from A to B? How do you have to clearly define your goals, and then you have to understand, how does the strategy that I'm employing actually achieve those goals? How does it get me where and then you have to constantly be recalibrating and questioning your assumptions. And that's just where I get worried, is like, if Navarro is the guy, he's supposed to be the critical thinker looking out at the world through the administration's lens and sort of making these calls. I found this interview very deeply troubling. Very troubling. I'm not saying like vis-a-vis SoFi it's a problem, but just, for the working poor, like, is it realistic? It's like, just take the medicine, take the pain. You're watching your small retirement, plan, go down 20%, and you're talking about bringing back manufacturing jobs. I think, like, we own the technology, we own the future. And instead of, grasping the future, even Elon Musk is saying, he's like, Europe and US should have zero tariffs, should be a free trade zone. He's like, because for all my problems about Elon Musk, I still believe in Tesla. I'm still big Tesla shareholder. I believe the guy is incredibly talented, incredibly intelligent, innovative, unique thinker. And you should listen to him. I'm not saying everything the guy says or everything the guy does is right, or all his opinions I agree with, because I don't, but I still think you listen to the guy's voice. Listen, think, adjust. They're saying like 50 nations were already called. Well, if zero is not enough, it's like, how do you get that? You have to start removing all these, structural, non-tariff, and this CNBC guy's like, so not only are you saying, you have to go to zero tariffs, but then you have to change all these internal government policies and adjust that in all like 90 of these countries. So basically it sets up an impossible task, a fool's errand. Like, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to completely reformulate how these governments function, support their industries, subsidize their industries, steal our intellectual property. All that. This does not get you from A to B, in my opinion. But again, nobody elected me to anything. I don't have a PhD from Harvard. Some would say I have a free PhD in stupidity. I don't know. I studied economics. I studied math. I really feel like I have a fairly decent grasp on how trade works and how tariff. Navarro said, he's like, I see these tariffs as a big tax cut for the American people. And then he went through this, incredibly convoluted logical gymnastics to get there. It's like, he's like, they're going to be paying, and it's going to cause them to recalibrate. And they're like, maybe. But they're not paying. We're paying. It's like, it's a money raise. It's how are you raising money and then saving us money? The money comes from somewhere. The money comes from higher costs to the American consumer. Yeah, you might kill that industry in the home country, but is that helpful? Depends, I guess, on the industry, on the country. But that's what they were talking about. Is like, pause, time to craft a plan with nuance, with formulas that make sense. He's like, the CNBC guy, and this guy's very conservative. This older guy, I think is Joe. He's like, everyone's laughing at this formula. It's a bunch of gibberish. And he's like, no, the formula is by the Council of Economic Advisors. He's like, I don't care who it's by. I don't care if it's by, Einstein himself. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. These aren't reciprocal tariffs. They're based on the trade deficit. Like, I just feel like I'm in a bizarro world here. Everything I learned and was taught, it's like they're telling me it's all wrong. And protectionism is the way. Fierce protectionism. Trade war with everyone all at once. And take your medicine. If we completely destroy, our markets, it's just going to be more prosperous in the future. Well, hey, in the future, we're all dead. So what the fuck does it matter? I'm worried about people now. And at the same time, it's like, is this the time to be really testing the social safety net? I don't know. I'm all for cutting out waste, fraud, abuse. I'm all for getting the fraudsters and, because I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of taxes. I know you guys are too. I don't want fraud and abuse. I don't want dangerous terrorists, illegal immigrants here. But I don't know if like it makes sense to be driving around snatching people up with no criminal record and just, it's just like what is happening to us all of a sudden? This was an odd like presidential election where, you know, you have this like fundamental change, not only in, American sort of, I would say, the structure of the government. You kind of sideline the Congress and the judiciary. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so I don't know. I highly encourage you to watch this interview. I mean, Navarro is obviously a smart guy, but I'm just decide for yourself. I mean, is this reality, or is this guy maybe a little bit delusional, or what's going on? What about the fact that his cheeks are so sunken you can see his entire skull? The guy looks like Skeletor from the He-Man franchise. I don't know. I'm not like against protection and against some of this stuff. Like makes sense. And Chinese, Vietnamese, and these other dumping, they're being used for surrogates. I mean, but it seems like seems like you'd address this stuff on like a case by case basis. Because the shock to the system, the shock to them, they're like, the shock is too much. Like nobody was expecting this. Markets want certainty. He's like, you might not be destroying the markets on purpose, but it's a foreseeable consequence. I mean, they were just, the CNBC guys are just sort of sitting around like, they're in shock or something. I think we all are. To sort of, but I mean, this was a fairly predictable response to the unpredictability of these sort of, rapid swings and just policy that reverberates all around the world in a million different ways. And sort of formulas, all this stuff. It just really doesn't make sense. It doesn't say what they're saying it says. I mean, a lot of the goals, they might be right, but a lot of it is like the devil's in the details, and it's got to be implemented carefully, systematically, so that the people affected have an opportunity. I mean, I know it's like the chaos, the madman theory. It puts you in a very strong position to negotiate. When people have literally shit their pants and they don't have another clean pair of underwear, they'll give you whatever they want. But is that a sustainable, trade system that's going to promote growth and prosperity in the United States, let alone the rest of the world? I mean, is the goal just to break everyone else so we can then negotiate from a position of strength and get everything we can? Or is the goal what's more in our national interest? We got to like, my thing is like, don't panic, stop and think. Don't panic, stop and think. How do you get what you want? It's not that what you want is wrong. It's not that we're not being ripped off in a lot of cases in America. We are. We've done a lot of the heavy lifting for the whole free Western world, small d democracy, liberal democracies. There's no reason we should pay that whole check. Whether it's UN, NATO, Southeast Asia, whatever. It's just, the American taxpayer cannot bear that burden for the rest of time. That's totally, totally right. But I mean, I don't think you have to break everything. The phrase, speak softly and carry a big stick. Well, I mean, the idea being that if you do it right, you don't have to use the stick. Well, it's like the deal now is just enter the room, start beating everyone about the face, breast, head, neck, and chest with the stick until they're bludgeoned unconscious, lying within a quarter inch of death on the floor, and then ask them if they want to negotiate. Yeah, I guess. I mean, if people are terrified and people think they're about to be executed, proverbially, their economy, yeah, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. But is that going to be sustainable? Are they really going to be able to change these policies you want changed? Or are you looking for, some type of world that's really never going to exist? And in the interim, you're going to badly damage the American economy, the world economy, but sort of how we fit in there. Do we want to go this thing alone? Do we want to make all this? And he's talking about, hey, Vietnam, they're making all this stuff like metal brackets. They're like, dude, we need to be grasping AI. We need to be grasping the future. We need to be reforming our schools, teaching kids to code, teaching kids about robotics, all this stuff that will lead us into dominating this century the way, we sort of dominated the second half of the last century. That we have to look to the future, not, pine over the past and try to go backwards to an era that's just never coming back. I mean, I loved flat tops and white shirts and neckties, and, we all loved Mad Men, busty women in pencil skirts, and, drunk guys making a bunch of snide jokes, more dry than their martinis. We all loved those days. I mean, I remember the 50s. I used to sell insurance in Lower Manhattan. So work for Saul Rosenberg. Time he pushed me down the stairs. I was initially hurt with his words. My head was all bashed apart and my shoes fell off. I hate that. No, guys, I don't know what I'm talking about, man. Like, this is just my musings. Like, I don't know. I was very hopeful. I was very, very hopeful. This administration, I see it like a lot of the other administrations have kind of been sleepwalking through the thing where it's like, I've been saying for so long, that this deficit debt stuff is a bomb. It's not sustainable. And quite frankly, he's the only guy that I can remember seriously talking about doing something about it since Clinton. But these big tax cuts, they're going to blow up the deficit even more than anything we're going to gain. So it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I don't know. C-Bar lost his shoe. I'd vote for Alberto too over any of my options. I just, I was nigh a fan of either Trump or Kamala. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. I don't think Kamala had a lot of strengths, quite frankly. But anyway, we all have our opinions, guys. I try to be civil. I get along with everybody. I'm probably more like on the conservative side, actually, if I'm honest, like just as a person. But, I believe in public schools. I believe in unions, whether the police, whatever. But I don't know. Like I said, I try not to make this a political show, but it's hard when, they're just lobbing hand grenades into the school bus and you're a fat kid trying to get out that emergency exit and your ass gets stuck in that window. You end up losing a testicle to the shrapnel, running around the rest of your life. They're calling you old Danny One Nut. That's no way to live. What's up, Savage? How are you? Fuck that. I'd not write any puts. I went full retard and just bought cheap paper to average down some stocks. But says the SMCX as well. Yeah, no, I actually I actually couldn't agree with you. I actually do agree with you, Savage. Savage actually makes a lot of sense the vast majority of the time, as does the great Billy Jack, a big man after my own heart. He likes trashy women. Who doesn't, Billy Jack? No, I don't. I've got the classiest woman around, great Princess J. Shoes fell off. Yeah. It's like, I want you to knock her house down. I want you to have it's a small, little black house. I want you to knock it down while she's on vacation. I don't know, guys. Anyway, what's up, man? What's up, Agassi? Who else is here, dude? I don't have time, guys. I hate to be honest because this is Youturd, but I absolutely have to pee. I've had like 10 mini waters. Yeah. I might come back on later and talk about SMCX. Thank you so much to the great Savage of Wall Street. Thank you to the great J Money Not a Lurker. Thank you to the great TJ the Wheel Deal. I would also like to thank, honestly, my friends. I was just joking around. I hope they know that. I only joke about people I love. I actually like, invest with Henry. He's a very smart guy on options. I actually do, believe it or not, I like Stock Mo. I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I like Stock Mo. But I only make fun of people I like. I love the Canadian Finturd Mafia, Tevez, Tanner, Roy, of course, the great Steve, the big sexy Fred Flintstone, probably my favorite ever. I think he chased into SMCI too. So we're losing money together, guys. What's up, Clap My Dog? Thank you guys very, very much. Thank you to Alberto. Thank you to Not a Lurker. Thank you to Princess J. Thank you to QT. It has been Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. Peace. I'm out. I gotta pee.